Tennessee's Wild Side is a presentation of the Jackson Foundation.
Hi friends, welcome to the Wild Side. I'm Steve Hall. Find a job that you love and you'll never work another day in your life. We're not exactly sure who originated that quote, although Confucius and Mark Twain are among those getting credit for it. But we do know the staff at historic Mansker'S Station in Goodlettsville, Tennessee seems to embody that philosophy. They represent a time in the past when outdoor adventure was just the cost of living.
Otters and beavers, you'll see them playing in the water in the wintertime, and they don't get cold. Now, if you or me were to jump in the water in the wintertime, we would freeze, right? But they don't.
A long hunter and fur trader. That's Matt Horn today. But Matt also becomes a Native American warrior when needed. The ability to portray both characters is in his blood.
I'm a card-carrying member of the Chickamauga Nation. And so it's neat to be a mixed-blood Native American and be one of the only ones in Middle Tennessee who works at a historic site and whose ancestors actually fought against the guys who built this fort. And at the same time, I'm also Scots-Irish and French. Almost everyone who settled here initially was Scots-Irish.
Matt, at the moment, personifies Caspar Mansker. Mansker built two forts intended to protect weary travelers from Chickamauga warriors who burned the first fort to the ground.
And I like to give a very unbiased view. It's like, I'm not going to take a side, I'm simply going to tell the history. But it's a personal connection with me because I had ancestors on both sides.
Dressing the part with an emphasis on historic accuracy is important for field trips like this one. And things can get heated, as a retired fourth grade teacher has learned.
I like the dressing up, but I will say that I have a greater appreciation for the women of that time. These clothes are very warm. The rest of the reenactors, they still look great, but I look like I've been through a rainstorm. But it is fun to actually put on the costume because it helps to transport you in your mind to become more genuine or maybe more realistic in what you're trying to convey when the visitors come in.
Have you seen any stores in here in the fort? There a Walmart in here? No, there's not a Walmart in here.
The job calls for a little bit of acting and a whole lot of making history meaningful and fun.
So often you find kids learning history as names and dates and then they just forget it and don't care about it. So I love doing this because this is really the best way to teach history to kids, especially because it's hands-on, they see it being lived out in front of you. It shows them how life was like back in the day, and when you see this and then you read about history in textbooks, you automatically remember the picture that you got in your mind from when you were walking around and seeing it played out in front of you, and it makes it real.
The actual land location of Mansker'S Station is now occupied by a grocery store, but this replica of the fort in a Goodlettsville park is representative of colonial construction.
For example, the fort, it's all wood construction. There's not a nail at all in any of these cabins other than a peg to hang your hat on. And so they're like huge Lincoln log cabins. If you've played with Lincoln logs, well, you get to step inside one. The fort was constructed basically the same way they would have built the original Mansker'S Station. So by hand, taking the logs, peeling them off all their bark, notching them, and laying log by log. It took a couple years for that to happen. And then the palisade wall, that's those logs that are standing on end, and that is your fortified fence line. And so, of course, our fort here is only a third of the size of the original Mansker'S Station.
These homeschool students certainly seem to be engaged with the lifestyles of the long gone past, especially gaming, the old-fashioned way.
I think that one of the very first groups that I did the games with, they were like, "This is great," and you know, we could barely get to leave to go home. So it's just fun to see that they can make a bridge with the children of that time and also realize that these simple games are just as fun as some of the things that they play with now.
Recess is just part of the school day. Inside the fort at the stable, a retired train engineer turned blacksmith keeps the kids fired up.
They ask some pretty tough questions sometimes. Sometimes they'll be asking things that you have to be a physicist to answer, and that's not me. I could probably hang a basket of flowers on there, yeah? Or maybe some tools.
Make another one.
We try to hit as much hands-on as we can with the kids. We try to leave, things that they can hold in their hands, and so they can experience some of this type of trade.
Then it's back to the classroom for reading and writing, where the pen might be mightier than the sword, but it is definitely light as a feather.
Oh, it is?
It's hard.
It's hard, yeah, that's hard.
All this hands-on history, whether it's playing games,
It's called Jacob's Ladder.
See, like that.
This was a favorite.
or getting a feel for fire, fur,
I touched a coyote, a raccoon, and like a mountain lion, but we couldn't touch it.
and feathers can lead to some interesting questions.
The kids almost always, they'll ask me, do you live here? And I'll say, no, I don't live here. I work here every day. But then I also try and, sometimes stay in character too. So sometimes I'll say, no, I don't live here. I live just down the road. And so in their mind, well, I live down the road in a cabin like this one. So that's always funny. They just get so entrenched in the idea that they've stepped back in time that they really believe it. And they think you're from this time. Or sometimes they'll ask, how old are you? And I'll say, I'm 250 years old. And then they just think that's funny. And of course they know that's not true.
I'll be 90 years old. If I live that way, and I'll still be learning more and more and more, but I want to share it. We get thousands of people here at Mansker'S every year. And that's what we are as living history interpreters. We're educators, but we bring history to life. So there were 8 forts, not just this one. There were 8.
Tennessee's Wild Side is a presentation of the Jackson Foundation.